Welcome back to TechMaker. This is Scraping the Web with Ruby, Part 4. We finished up the last episode with a couple of functions. The first one is one that we can use to find a specific element out of an HTML document, and the other one is one where we can find attributes out of that element. So we can look at the first. It was find item, and we would pass in HTML, and we would give it this li class equals row result, and we were leaving off a closing quote here as well as anything else, because this kind of has other things in it potentially. We just want to kind of say this is the identifier we're looking for, the starting bit of the tag, and then we were closing off there. And so we could say find item, and we'll say listing equals underscore to set that equal to that, and then we can just look at that with puts formatted a little bit differently, and we can see we still have our same exact thing. I've actually still have all the data loaded from yesterday, so we're still looking at the same exact page data. We also had another function called find content, and we could pass in our listing and then a specific selector, which in our case is actually a CSS selector, and it would pull back the actual information we want. So what we're going to do now is combine these functions into an actual scraper that will run across the page, pull back all of the listings, put them into objects on which we can call methods. So back in our code editor, let's create a new file, and I'm just going to call this scraper.rb. Now in here I'm going to do a few things. So first of all, kind of just making all this up as I go, so we may come back and change this a bit, but right now I think I'm going to want to have at least a couple of classes. So the first thing I want to do is say like class scraper, and then there's everything in here is just going to be a class method. Okay, actually, there's probably just going to be one method. We're just going to have self.run, and it's going to have it needs to take in a URL for now. Let's stick with that. So we're going to have to require OpenURI because we're going to make use of OpenURI. So in here, we're going to do, we're going to open the URL into a doc, parse the HTML, find each listing, store the listings into an array, something like this, of listing objects. Okay, so let's just start working this out. So we'll do the same thing that we do in the terminal all the time. We'll say doc equals open URL, and then we'll say HTML equals doc.read. Then we can do our, let's actually go back to the terminal really quick. So what I want to be able to do is run this find item. So I'm just going to copy this, not the whole thing, and then we're going to make use of that. I should have done a better job of documenting this, but I need to actually get this find item method itself also and put that in our code. So I'm not going to make you watch, but I'm going to copy and paste all the stuff that we previously wrote out into our new code file. Okay, so I've pasted in the code here from the terminal, and I also need to make this a self method because this is a self method, and if it's going to call the other one, it needs to be able to do that. And then I've put in this listing markup thing here. So let's just save this and let's run it and let's see what we get back. So to do that, let's go back over to the terminal and let's start a new fresh session, load this up and run it. So back over in the terminal, I'm going to open up a new IRB session. I'm going to start by requiring scraper.rb, and you'll probably need to do /scraper.rb to tell it it's located in this particular directory, or wherever you put it. If you put it in a different directory, you'll need to give it the path. But anyway, so now we should have access to our scraper object. I copied and pasted the URL from Craigslist here. Oh, I need to set that, not just say URL. So we'll say URL equals that, and then we'll just say scraper.run URL and see what we get back. So right here you can see we get a result row. It's exactly what we'd expect. There's the price in here, so on and so forth. So the next thing we're going to do is put this into an object and call methods on the object, hopefully. So let's see what we can get to. So what I want to do is now I want to create a new listing.new with this listing markup. So what that's going to mean is that I need a listing class, right? And then I need to give it initialize. Cannot type today. And we'll just do at markup equals markup adder reader. Okay. So at this point, all I've done is created a listing object and thrown the markup in there, and that's not extraordinarily useful by itself. What I can do is put this, let's take this find content and let's put it inside of our listing class as a private method. Let me give some space here. So we'll make a private method and we'll just paste this find content in. So what's nice is I don't actually need to pass in anything but the selector because I have the markup stored. So I'm just going to say markup index selector markup, just scanning this for any other instances of that. Okay, so I'm going to need to go back to the terminal and just look and see what are the attributes we're interested in. So I'm going to try to just remember this, but we have result price. Actually, let me put this so that it's easier to read. So we have result hood, housing. You know what? I'm going to copy this and not try to test my memory. Let's see. So it looks like there's only those three things though, right? So yeah, let's just copy this for the moment. There's actually no, I need the result title. I need the result date as well. Okay, where the heck did I write that? Okay, this is the start. That's the end. So I'm just going to copy the whole thing and quit trying to read through it. Alright, so I'm just going to paste in that whole big thing, which is going to look terrible. And then I'm going to comment it all out. Okay, so let's start by just defining some methods. So we know we want the title. We know we want the, what should we call it? And actually, let's call this like property title. And then let's call this one the listing, well, we can just call it the date listed. Then we can say, what else we need? The price. And, you know, we could even get more specific and say price per month. And what else? Housing. I'm really not sure what to do with this housing thing yet because I don't actually know what that, I know it's the number of bedrooms, but there's a dash and I haven't seen anything without the dash yet. Um, Presumably that means there could be more data, so we're just going to stick with housing for now. And then I'm going to put the neighborhood. Okay, so property title. So what we're going to do is say find content, and we're going to put in there our, I'm sure you guys love watching me just scan through big blocks of text to try to find words. So we have the result title. The date listed is going to be the result date. I'm going to like just kind of guess on these and then verify. So we'll say result price. I think this one might just be housing. And if I remember right, that one was result hood. Okay, so let's look for the result price. Yep, that's right. Then housing, then result hood. Okay, so I'm going to leave this huge comment down here for the moment just so we can refer to it if we need to. But that should give me, if I run this again, that should give me a listing that I can call these methods on. So back over in the terminal, I'm going to run IRB. I'm going to load scraper.rb. And let's say URL equals same stuff. And then scraper.run. See if we get any errors. No, we get a listing object, so we can say listing equals underscore. And let's see if we can call our method. So we say listing dot price per month. And we get $2,100. And actually, one trick, if you're not sure what method you can call on an object, you can say listing dot public methods. And then pass in the word false, and what that's going to do is it's going to say don't include the methods that are defined on a higher level object. So for example, like when you call a class listing, it inherits down the chain from like the class object and base object, and it has all these methods that you didn't actually write. So you just want to see the ones you wrote, or if you just want to see the ones you wrote, put false in the public methods thing, and let's just sort them. And so we have date listed, housing, markup, neighborhood, price per month, property title. So let's just run through each of those. And then we can do puts, and they'll give it like an equal sign times 30 to create a nice little bar. Puts, how can I say this? Let's do like method.toS. This is getting a little complicated. Let's do method.toS colon space, and then listing.send method. So this is like kind of a little bit of meta programming here. Basically what I'm doing is I'm saying, okay, I have a method name stored in a symbol, and I can send that method name to the listing object, and it's the same thing as calling the method on it. So it's literally like, this is actually kind of a good lesson in object-oriented programming, particularly with regard to Ruby, is it's really all about message sending. So you can think of like all of these symbols as messages, and then you're sending that message to listing. So the dot notation where you say listing dot neighborhood is really kind of it's a handy way to actually call listing dot send. So let's put that again, and let's see what we got. So we have our property title, 1 bedroom on Lower East Side, LES, date listed, price per month 2,100, housing, all this extra junk, and then 1 BR, and then neighborhood Lower East Side. So that's pretty cool. I'm actually out of time to work on this video, so I'm gonna have to sign off for the day. Um, I think these series always get a little bit more interesting and complicated and long than I imagined, but I'm going to keep going with it. Who knows how many parts it's going to be. Originally, I thought it was going to be like 5, but I thought I was going to have all of this done by the second episode. So, but who cares? I'm going to continue to just put out parts for this until I get finished with it. So, we'll see what happens with that. If you like this, please subscribe. If you're interested in the topics here, I am listing some interesting books and resources down in the description, so check those out. They're highly recommended. I'm not going to recommend anything to you that I haven't personally purchased and read, and the things show up here in these series. So definitely recommend you check those out if you're interested. But at that point, I'm just going to have to say I'll talk to you next time, and hope you enjoyed this.